If you haven't already done so, please, I implore you, watch an interview between Elon Musk and a BBC reporter, which they did very recently. It's trending online, and it's trending online for all the wrong reasons in regards to the BBC, because this was clearly meant to be a hit job and in some way blame Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter for the so-called rise in hate speech on that platform. Of course, it's nothing of the sort. Hate speech is merely speech that a woke lefty will disapprove of. If they don't like it, they will say it's hate speech, they will say it's racist. You know the score with these people, it's standard procedure. And Elon Musk is not stupid, he's a smart guy, otherwise he wouldn't be who he is and what he has and what he has done. And at the same time this interview was happening, he was streaming it on Twitter on live spaces. So that means the BBC were unable to edit it in their favour and make him look bad, which is a good thing. Remember, it's the same tactic used by Tommy Robinson every time he was interviewed by the media, especially the BBC. And you have to these days, because the mainstream media, news outlets, they don't give you the news. They give you what they believe you should know, and they're more inclined to instruct you on what to think rather than how to think. So it doesn't really exist to give you the news anymore. It's the same as the NHS. It should be there to save lives, but it's infested by activists, left-wing activists. It's the same with journalism, left-wing activists, and they are destroying both former cherished institutions, in my view. Now, Elon Musk tied this BBC reporter, or I shall call him activist really, in knots, especially when the BBC activist tried to highlight and bring up hate speech, or so-called hate speech, on Elon Musk's Twitter, and Elon Musk asked him to bring up any examples. Of course, the BBC activist couldn't bring up any examples of hate speech because, as Elon Musk pointed out, hate speech is just speech that he didn't like and speech he disapproved of, and he was wrong to do so. Now, this interview, attempted hit job, which went badly wrong and backfired drastically and spectacularly against this BBC activist and the BBC itself. It went on for an hour, and not once, not one time, did this BBC activist stroke journalist ask any questions about the Twitter files. He didn't ask anything about Twitter's involvement in the election interference, both times, 2016 and 2020, and he didn't ask him about the denial of free speech amendment rights, let alone Twitter's willing suppressing concerns raised by medical experts regarding the plague jab, lockdown procedures, etc. All of which is pretty criminal, I think, and anyone decent would think that as well. Because all that goes against the left-wing narrative, especially the BBC's narrative. The BBC is very left-wing, isn't it? Now, the fallout of this interview has been the BBC once again being exposed for being left-wing biased and willing to apply censorship to speech that it designates as hate speech, even though it isn't. Also, Elon Musk has said that Twitter will mark the BBC account as publicly funded, which it is, because up until now it has been wrongly designated as government funded. As you all know, the BBC is almost entirely funded by the public through the use of a forced tax called the TV licence scheme. And if you don't pay it, the BBC will prosecute you, which is wrong. It's just yet another reason to defund the BBC and let it be self-funding. And in an article on a BBC website, they're now conflating America's free speech protections with Nazism. So they haven't learnt the lessons of Gary Lineker, clearly. And the BBC is as despicably left-wing as ever. So there we go. Please, if you can, go and watch this interview. It's quite revealing. Watch it in its entirety and watch Elon Musk skewer this BBC activist, who is clearly some well-spoken middle-class lefty who lives in metropolitan elite London, is a champagne socialist, Guardian reading, avocado on toast eating, quinoa latte drinking, out-of-touch woke arsepipe, and it's quite fun to see. So there we go, that's my video. Hope you like. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until the next time, have a great day, look after yourselves, and Roger Trout.